Welcome back to RC Hospice Talk Season 2. We're very excited to start the second season actually because we've been planning on what the topics would be, and I said something, and it's funny, we posted on Instagram where everyone has lost someone, and I feel like it's so important for everyone to be able to talk about their experiences, what happened, what they wish had happened, and to understand like what the purpose of hospice would have been if you had gone through hospice or have not gone through hospice. So I'm really excited today. I'm joined today by our amazing chaplain, Tom. And I don't know if any of you have seen our videos before, but my name is Esther Narcissi, and I'm the Director of Operation of RC Hospice. So yeah, today is exciting. How are you, first of all? I haven't seen you.
Well. No, I'm doing well, doing fine. Plugging along, living every day, and also ministering every day, to crossing paths with people who are on their way, as we all are. And as I think about this, I'm going to talk to Esther in front of you for a minute, because I know, but maybe those who are watching can know maybe at least the names or the relationships of a few people in your life that you have lost.
Yeah, so I've said this story to many people, but I've lost 3 very important people to me, and I wish to share about them today.
Well, Esther, as we're talking about everyone has lost someone, perhaps you could maybe tell us the names and perhaps a brief story of 1 or 2 or 3 in your life, in your family that you've lost, and their experience with or without hospice.
So my gosh, I may get emotional. I apologize ahead of time. I tend to be an ugly crier. I've lost a total of 3 people, 1 actually rather recent, but the 2 that I would really like to talk about is my cousin's grandfather named Michael and my dad. So.
Let's hear about Michael first, if you can. If you're able.
So, wow, I did not expect this emotion. Michael was actually my cousin's grandfather, and this man, I can't explain, like, blessed me every single day of his life. Like, he blessed me with with my career, my future, like the man I was gonna marry, and I lost one of my grandparents very, very young, so he was like a step in, and we were very close to my cousins. So my first experience with hospice actually was at that time. It was about, I want to say like 9 years ago, 8-9 years ago, and that's when I think when my dad had mentioned hospice, because of that experience, I was like, this isn't how it should have been. So when he passed, first of all, I didn't even know he was on hospice up until the last week when we saw that he was becoming imminent and weaker. I go in there and, we're taking care of him. My aunt's doing a lot of stuff, and just, it's like an absent situation of the hospice. They're like, oh, that he's on hospice, but I'm not seeing what hospice is, because in my head I'm like, okay, what are they going to do? Just come call time of death and leave? And literally that's what happened. There's like, I'm Armenian. DJ cracks a joke all the time. I had to let you know this, but we have a really big family, and so there was a lot of us there. There was like 35 of us in the house when he passed. And I'll never forget, this nurse walks in, she literally calls time of death and leaves. My aunt and all of us, even me, went over there. We helped clean and prep him before the mortuary came. We even called the funeral home to come pick him up, which I was like, okay, cool. So instead of calling the coroner, you call the nurse, is what I thought it was. And he was just such an amazing man. And knowing what I know about hospice now, knowing the benefits of it, knowing that how much ease they should have given my aunt, and knowing like the benefits of the supplies, and granted, yes, he had a hospital bed, and they didn't bring that until much later because nobody knew that he qualified for stuff like that. I feel like I kind of sucked in that experience, and I realized, excuse my language, I know that sometimes they say you either had an amazing experience with hospice or not. And I know there's absolutely wonderful hospice programs out there, especially in Sacramento, and we know majority of them. And I can say they're all absolutely amazing. It all depends on the staff, the training, and the goals of the organization, I'll say. But my dad, I remember coming up to me after, he's like, listen, he goes, who better to take care of our community than you guys, especially because man, I can't tell you the heart I have for people. I feel like that's one of my callings, is to love and take care of people. And if I can't do it, I have to make sure that the people who work for us will do that and hold that standard. So for his experience, seeing someone so near and dear to me not get the best possible care, and just so much stress on my aunt and their family, it weighed a toll on us as well, because it's not a pretty sight whenever you're the one doing it, basically. Yes. So that was one experience with hospice.
How about one without hospice? If you're able.
I am. I may stutter, but my dad, passed away almost 2 years ago. And his was in the hospital. It wasn't at home. And I remember they came up to us to talk to us about hospice like the day before he passed. And I don't want to mention which hospital, but I was so upset because they didn't treat him like a person. Oh, he's dying anyway. I remember he came into the room in front of my brother and my dad, and he's like, and I was there. He's like, he has about 3 days left, and I was like, get out of the room right now. Like, first of all, my dad could hear and talk still. Like, when a nurse or a doctor is so inconsiderate about people's feelings, and the person's already passing, how could you just stand there and look them in the eye, or their family member, and so loudly and boldly, like you're so proud of it, he has 3 days left. And I feel like nobody deserves to ever be treated with so much disrespect. Even if that's the case, I'm not saying give him hope, he's living, but like, you don't have to say it in front of them. They already know, they're already, feeling that fear. And man, I mean, knowing what our nurses do and seeing the beauty of, it's a hopeful and peaceful journey, meaning that, listen, man, no matter what, you're going to be taken care of the best possible way. If we can help your anxiety, we're going to. I remember my dad had to ask them for anxiety medication. Like, I had to be like, why aren't you helping him? If he is passing, where is the comfort measure of at least calm his nerves down? And thank God my dad was such a man of faith. And the doctor asked him the day before he passed, he's like, are you scared? And my dad's like, no. I feel like, that's the beauty of it. We help people transition to the other world. And I believe in God. And I know that, this place is temporary. We're all going to be there one day. Whether, if you do or you don't believe, there's always an afterlife. And
just listening to you, could it maybe be said that had he been a part of a hospice, a good hospice would have buffered some of these negative experiences?
100%, especially for our family. Like, granted, I was in the room. There's about 24 of us when he was passing, and the funny thing is, I'm his daughter, and I'm wearing the hospice hat, and I'm explaining to people, what's going to happen, his breathing. I'm calming him down, and slowly talking to each one of them, because he's also a sibling, he's a son, he's an uncle. So, and he had a relationship. Everybody in the room, like 24 people in a room for a person passing, that tells you how loved he was. So I remember for me, it was a shock right after, because me having to deal with me being the only hospice person in the room, I think it hit me harder, because at that time, like I remember the chief of surgery came over to me because we were in the NICU. She hugged me, and she was the only person I felt like the hospice part of, and it was granted at the very end. She hugs me and she's like, what can I do for you? Because she saw what I did, what they were supposed to do. And I feel like that part of it, like, it reminded me of why I do what I do. It's the comfort you bring to people, saying, listen, take a breather, take a rest. Let me take part of your burden. We have a saying in our culture, let me cut your pain in half with you. Let me take part of your pain. And I love that we have that cultural saying, because I feel like that's what we do in hospice. It's not necessarily where I can take your pain, but let me try to cut your pain in half and share it with you. And I feel like that's what hospice is. And of course it's hard losing someone, but it doesn't have to be a bad experience, and it can be so beautiful. The last person I'm actually going to share about is my grandfather, who had hospice. He passed away about 2 weeks ago. Man, he was my second dad. And he actually had a wonderful hospice. and the nurse was very sweet. They had all the equipment there. They took care of him to the best possible way, and I love that we got to see him not suffer, and he had great team members, and that's how it's supposed to be. You know, you're supposed to be taken care of, and it wasn't even our hospice who take care of him.
I was thinking that very thing. It wasn't even RC.
It wasn't.
However, you had the eyes to see how it's done right.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. There is such amazing programs in hospice services out there. It's so important to do education, ask questions. Don't just go with, you know, the first one that they tell you or pops into your head. You know, go online, read their reviews, call them, interview them. Hospice should be just like, I don't know, buying a house. Go check everything out. Have an appraisal in there. And I feel like just because I work in it and I know what the benefits are, Tom, it's that much more of how education is so important. People need to know it's not just the last moments. It's not just, oh, let me get a hospital bed the week before. It's, you have so many great benefits to you, and I think that's what we want to do with RC hospices, to educate people.
And for folks like in our area, Sacramento area, hospice is a great program, and there are many good hospices. Of course, we believe we are one of them, but we aren't the only one.
Yes.
And that's the good thing about it, is we would encourage you to look into the hospice program, especially if you're in need of it, or seeing it come down the road that you'll be in need of it. We would encourage you to contact us, of course, or any of the other hospices that are operating in our area, and you can look them up. Our number is 916-858-1440. You can call us and look us up as well for information. But whoever you check into, it's a blessing. Esther's 3 stories give us some insight into the blessing of having it, and also the challenge of not having it.
It is, yeah. It definitely challenges, perfectly worded. So definitely we encourage you guys to go on and, you know, search, do your homework, call us, ask questions. We always have a nurse on not on staff, obviously they're on staff, but available 24/7. And I'm really excited for the extra stories you guys are going to be hearing. And I know Tom's going to
Mine's coming up next, so check out the next episode.
So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.